Welcome to episode 3 of our series, The King's Daughters, Filles du Roi of Early New France. In our last episode, we explored the recruitment of the young women who would become the founding mothers of Quebec. Now, we embark with them on the most perilous part of their journey, the treacherous transatlantic voyage. For these brave souls, the promise of a new life was first met with the stark reality of a 2 to 3 month ordeal at the mercy of the vast and unforgiving Atlantic Ocean. The journey for most daughters of the king began in the bustling port city of La Rochelle on the western coast of France. This major maritime hub was the final point of departure for the majority of ships bound for the fledgling colony of New France. Imagine the scene in the mid-17th century, a chaotic harbor filled with the sights and sounds of a world on the move. Wooden-hulled merchant ships, often repurposed for passenger transport. They were loaded with supplies, trade goods, livestock, and soldiers. Amid this organized chaos, groups of young women gathered, chaperoned by older matrons or members of religious orders. They would gather by the docks, clutching their meager belongings and the king's dowry. They were leaving behind everything they had ever known for a future they could only imagine, and the vessel before them was their only bridge to that new world. The ships of this era, such as galleons or fluyts, were not designed for comfort. They were floating wooden fortresses, built to withstand storms and carry cargo, not to cater to passengers. Below deck, the conditions were grim. The space allotted to the king's daughters was dark, cramped, and poorly ventilated. Hammocks were strung up in tight quarters, offering little privacy. The air would have been thick with the smell of unwashed bodies, bilge water, livestock, and the sea. The creaking of the ship's timbers, the sailors' shouts, and the relentless motion of the waves were a constant sensory assault. Sanitation was rudimentary at best, with chamber pots and primitive latrines that often overflowed in rough seas, creating an environment ripe for disease. The Atlantic crossing itself was fraught with danger. The primary threats were storms, disease, and pirates. North Atlantic gales could appear with terrifying speed, tossing the small ships violently. Massive waves could crash over the decks, flooding the lower levels of the ships and threatening to tear the vessel apart. During these tempests, the women would be confined below deck in darkness, listening to the storm's fury and praying for survival. The sea was an even more persistent enemy. Scurvy, caused by a lack of vitamin C from fresh fruits and vegetables, was common on long voyages. Typhus, dysentery, and smallpox could also sweep through the crowded quarters with devastating speed. A ship that left port with 100 healthy passengers might arrive in Quebec with a significant portion of them sick or having been buried at sea. Beyond the perils of nature and illness, the threat of piracy loomed. Corsairs from the Barbary coast or privateers from rival European nations prowled the shipping lanes, looking for vulnerable merchant vessels. An attack could mean a violent struggle, the plundering of the ship's goods, and the capture of its passengers and crew, who could be sold into slavery or held for ransom. While direct attacks on the ships carrying the king's daughters were not frequent, the ever-present danger added another layer of deep anxiety to the already arduous journey. For these young women, every sunrise was a small victory, bringing them one day closer to the shores of the St. Lawrence River and away from the clutches of the open ocean. After weeks, sometimes months, of this harrowing passage, the first sight of land would have been a moment of profound relief and overwhelming emotion, marking the true beginning of their lives as the king's daughters. The research for this mini-documentary, like all the videos on this channel, was inspired by the extensive historical research behind the novel, The Point of No Return. You can find more videos inspired by that research here. On the other channel, A Tenacious Grasp on Reality. You will find content on paranormal themes in the Gothic ghost novel of the same name. Both A Point of No Return and A Tenacious Grasp on Reality are available on Amazon and Audible, all created by the author and artist, shot on this reset. Thank you for joining us.